do appreciate it. But they're doing a wonderful job, so thank you. Okay, next we have our new website. It's called libertyhillcommunity.com, libertyhillcommunity.com. And we're so excited because September 4th, Liberty Hill is going live. Live. During the live broadcast, we want to do shout outs. So we're asking any and everybody who have birthdays and anniversaries to please send them to libertyhillcommunity.com email, which is info@libertyhillcommunity.com. And the other email is live@libertyhillcommunity.com. And she will announce your anniversaries and birthdays every month. We're also going to be doing an inspiration moment where she's going to probably ask some of the Liberty Hill pastors to give a few words of inspiration. And she's also going to have different interview sessions. She's going to start off with the group Liberty Hill Next Generation because of all that they're doing for the community, but she's going to be interviewing them first. Amen. So stay tuned, September 4th, and we'll post it on Facebook and we'll post it in our emails. Okay. Code enforcement came back with a note. She said she didn't get a chance to let everybody know this, but she got some calls about parking on Nesbitt near Apple Church, especially on Sundays. So she said, please be mindful when parking in front of or near neighbors' property. Be sure not to block their driveways or gates. And also on Sundays, especially pick up the trash like all from the vehicles. Thank you. Okay, any new business? All right. Any questions? Well, we just report. Okay. I do want to let you know, Mr. Craig, did you want to say about the rehab moving forward for the development group?
We, the redevelopment group, are in the process right now. We're waiting on the funding from the county. It's been approved, and we are waiting on them to disperse the money to us. We have scoped 21 houses, and we are ready to go as soon as we get that money. The contractors are ready. We've spoken to them as early as today, and the only thing that they're waiting on is us. And as soon as we get that money, we're going to go ahead and start. And we ask you to please be patient with us because God truly is not through with us yet. But, we're going to work the process, and we're going to get as much as we can. And this is not the end all to be all. We're going to still look for other funding so that we can bring Liberty Hill roaring back to better than it used to be. So that's our goal. Again, we do apologize for any delay and or inconvenience. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So, how, like you say you got 21 people already selected.
Yes.
So the 21 people already been notified to have been selected to get.
No. What we've done is we have a total of 60 houses that we looked at already. Initially, we were supposed to do 25, but we went ahead and scoped 21 of the houses of the 25 because the county initially told us we wanted us to do 25 houses in a blitz, and then there was a little confusion So, we went back and talked again, and, they said that was just a number that we threw out. You don't necessarily have to do 25 houses. But we've already, yes, we've contacted, the folks. In fact, we were at the house. We were at the houses, so, and that's just the beginning, because we're only working on roofs right now. So we're gonna work inside houses as well, but, we're working on the roofs first. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So the initial amount is, what's the initial amount?
Well, we try not to break it into increments, but we, the number that we put forth for these 21 houses, I think the total was, 20,000. Yeah, 20,000 for right now, but the total, the absolute total is 500,000. So we're gonna work and try to get everything done. And I'm gonna be honest with you, 500,000 is not enough to do all what we need to do. 6 million is not enough. 20 million is not enough. But we're gonna work with what we have, because again, when we work with the initial pot of money that we had $58,000, and we did 9 projects for $58,000. So we stretch that money, and we can show what we've done with that small amount of money. But we have some parameters that we have to stay within with this 500,000. So we're going to work within those parameters. We're going to get the job.
Are they willing to give y'all more money after y'all spend 5?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question. This is the initial push of money, because they recognize, in the county, Charleston County, recognize that this initial amount of money is not enough. So they asked us to spend this money, and then they would look at funding us again, because our neighborhood, I don't know if you all know this, but Liberty Hill is a pilot program for them. And we went, because they knew what we did in our community, and what they decided is they want us to be, to show other communities how to do what we do. So we're gonna do ours first. We want to concentrate only on Liberty Hill first. And once we've done Liberty Hill, and we can teach them how to do what we did, or what we've done, so that they can go into their communities and do the same thing. So again, it's a great opportunity for Liberty Hill, because if we're the oldest, at one point we were the absolute best. So we want to stay right there where we were, and continue to grow and roar back better than we used to. Yes, ma'am. Question?
Me? No.
Okay.
I got one. What part does this play with people with mobile homes? Because it's just like we don't exist when it comes to them saying, using the word house. To the mayor and them, we are not considered homeowners. We just basically, we can drag our trailer behind us. That's not considered a home. So basically there's never no funds for us outside of Liberty Hill.
We only concentrate on what we're doing in Liberty.
Yeah, I'm in Liberty Hill.
Yeah, I know. And exactly.
So the only reason why I say that is because a lot of times Liberty Hill has offered, people come into Liberty Hill and they're not Liberty Hill, like, so you got people that come in from like Habitat and different agencies. And when they come in, I'm looking dumb in the news, because when I go to ask what y'all gonna do to help me with a mobile home, and the only reason I say mobile home is because when I actually had the money to go from the ground up, the city told me no. They told me I would have to move my mobile home off my property, put it in a mobile home lot, then go from the ground up. And it was very hurtful to sit back and watch them let these little tiny houses. They said my property wasn't big enough. And the property is 60 by 100, which 2 homes were on it before they went back and rezoned it, and they locked us out to do anything with mobile homes. So now I'm sitting here with a mobile home that's needing a lot of work done to it, stuck but on the property, because once I move it, if I don't get something else back and it within a certain amount of time, I basically, like old people say, ass out. And yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's like no help for me. So it's like you in a no-win situation for me. I'm serious.
You serious?
I am dead serious. So I took back and watched them come and build all them little houses years ago, when they were building those houses. If that's the case, and we can't do that without children, then bring one of them programs, like build the houses that are them for 10 years, pay the taxes, and we get to have it after 10 years. I'm disabled, regardless of what it looks like. I'm disabled. I can't do anything. My income can't afford the quote unquote low income housing. I can't do any of that. So I need help. I'm here because I need help. So y'all invited me, I'm here.
But I'd like you to, if nothing else, I'd like for you personally to think about what's been done in the past, where we were concerned.
No, y'all, not what y'all did, because I didn't know who this meeting is for. I'm just here.
It's us, it's the same people.
Okay, but I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure who's having the meeting. Yeah, Miss Valerie came in and tried to help me. But Miss Valerie was also in one of those meetings where other people, and that's the only reason why she ended up helping me, because it was Liberty Hill. And there were other agencies in it that did not, it was very hurtful to sit in a meeting and say, I got to move home. And Miss Valerie pulled me to the side and helped me.
So this is the same meeting.
Okay.
So can I share a little bit? So this year, with the critical need repair program, they're allowing money for mobile homes.
Okay, that's so good.
As long as the money that goes into the mobile home is not greater than what the mobile home is actually valued. Okay, so they're letting us do roofs and whatever else needs in the mobile home. The requirements, 62 and older, within the income bracket, the disability status got to be approved for them, disabled, and you got to live in a home, and we're asking that you don't sell or rent it out for 5 years.
Okay. And I don't ask, no offense to anybody, and they say the whole thing is if you don't ask, you don't know. So I have to ask, and I have to be a voice for the people in mobile home, because I don't see nobody else talking, but so Ms. Valerie did help me. Again, like I said, I don't know who the meeting, but I just know it was a meeting today, and I'm here. And if y'all can help people move home, that's even much better to hear, because I can spread that and help y'all with that.
We're the same entity.
It is
Okay.
development group.
Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions?
Now, any other announcements? And Next Generation, y'all got anything coming up soon that you want to announce? Nope. Okay. Any other organizations have anything going on y'all want to announce? Okay, with that said, we have a charity foundation here, Robert Rivers. We're gonna let him have the floor, and he's gonna tell us about, the zoning that he's requiring for his project. Amen?
Good afternoon, beloved. Thank you, President Harper Young, for the invitation and opportunity. I know many of you, God bless you, God keep you. 42 years ago, I was elected president of North Charleston and the LHIC at Felix Pinckney. At that time, that was on my 7th year coming up to I went to Burke High School, don't y'all see that? Burke High School was part of the marching Bulldog Band, class of 1968. And we played Barnes Wilson a lot. I got stuck in the black bottom after one game. And spent the time on the floor of the bus because some strange objects are coming through the window because we messed around with my game. So then I became friends with many of the folk in the band, etc. But anyway, God saw fit that I would come to be elected president, worked and served, the youngest president in the state at the time. And then the Lord in 2008 said that he would send me to charity. So September this next month, I will have been pastor 14 years at Charity Missionaries Baptist Church. Pastor Brown, he was at St. Peter, was a good friend. Reverend Davenport was my president, and I was his vice president. And it was him who got me to become president because he decided he would step down. Over those years, I developed long relationships with the Liberty Hill community, Big Daddy, Hughes, Saul White, etc. A list of them. When I became pastor in 2008, Charities Loving Church, Never Fighting Church, thank God, the foundation had been defunct from 2000. And so in 2010, we reactivated the Charity Foundation. I believe all three of the churches, or three of those churches I mentioned, have foundations. We reactivated ours in 2010. And the foundation in 2015 was given a vision and a focus from an encounter with Boeing. I went to meet with them at a recommendation of one of my closest friends in ministry, Reverend Charles Jackson of Brooklyn Baptist Church, who did revivals at Royal for over 20 years. And they wanted to meet. So I went to meet with them, and I told them that they were more impressed with themselves than I was, because they didn't even know where Liberty Hill was. And they admitted they didn't know where it was. The folk that I met with. And I talked to them about an experience I had in Arkansas, the place where Walmart has its headquarters. So I went to visit. I could not imagine how transformed it was from what it was the several years I've been there before. And I asked my friend who invited me to be there, Reverend Charles White, what happened? He said, in the word Walmart. And he talked about how a company and organizations can literally transform a community. So I said to them in the meeting that the vision we have, or the vision the foundation has, is fourfold. And it's called Transformation of Liberty Hill. And it's really about affordable housing, it starts with high quality public education for all children without having to go anywhere. You shouldn't have to get on the bus, you shouldn't have to be transported, you shouldn't have to go to a school that won't let you in. If our children go to school, it should be high quality public education, regardless of what the location is. The second component was, I learned over the years, when good schools come, quote unquote, gentrification comes after. So folks move in to be at the school that happened up the street. That is literally, as you know better than I, where the academic magnet sits, that's Liberty Hill, that's Barnes Wilson. That was the campus that was built in 1953 to keep black folks from going to school with white folks. And now when you go visit it, folk who don't know the story would think that that was a new school built in a new community, when literally the fence that divides it was put up by folk who at midnight did it. No one knows yet. If somebody knows who put the fence up, please tell me. Because the city doesn't know, the county doesn't know, the police don't know. Nobody seems to know. Somebody put it there. There's a fence between this community and the academic magnet, and they put it up to keep some folk out and keep some folk in. So I said to them, that you aren't doing enough. They said they don't work with church organizations. I said, well, you need to leave South Carolina, because in South Carolina, like the church is critical, the black church in particular. And I laid out for them what was called the transformation vision of those four things: high quality public education, affordable housing for folk in our community, workforce development, so folks move from under the tree, and financial literacy. When you finally get paid, if you can't keep your money, you won't have any money. And that was it. Shonda wasn't working, we didn't have any staff, we didn't have any money. And I pushed them for 3 years. They told me no all 3 years. And finally in year 3, I went up to meet the guy at South Carolina State who was visiting. And I said the same thing. He said, the answer's still no. So I'm gonna talk to the Lord about it. And 3 years later, he claimed I sick the Lord on him. I don't care why he did it, but I give God credit for me sticking him on me. So they committed to do 2 of the first things. STEM education, our commitment was that a feeder pattern would have STEM at every school, and no feeder pattern that's black in the county still, except Liberty Hill, except this community, has STEM at elementary, middle, and high. To go with that, it was affordable housing. How do we get housing built that's affordable? That's really affordable. And we challenged them and challenged ourselves that we would take whatever it took, we would start. At first, we couldn't do it. We asked the city, petitioned the city, fought the city for now 4 years to get vacant property that was vacant when we got identified 5 lots, I think it was. One on the corner of Mixon and Monica that's still vacant. One across the street that has a little park in it. And then the other one was on Luella, other one was on Garner, other one was on Mint. After 4 years, they finally voted that we would have the property. And so then we set out to build affordable housing on those properties. In the meantime, we ended up being able to acquire two more pieces of property, one on what was up John, which is now the Q. And that is where we're building a house, two houses, single, one bedroom homes for people with unique needs. One of them is our member, one is your family. We plan to put him in a decent house. He's unique needs, he's fully capable of taking care of himself, he's doing it all these years. But where he lives is just not acceptable. And we made the commitment that we were able to do it for him and people like him. So last year, someone heard about it and anonymously came to us to talk about if we would guarantee that it was special needs, they call it special needs, we call it unique needs, they would help support it. They did it, and that's what we did. We cleared the lot. Our goal is to put that person and one other person, individuals who have, they got jobs, they go to work, they ride the bus, they come back, they're fully confident, they live in the community. And our goal is to put two of those right there. Now, across the street is Montague Gardens, down the street is the parcel they gave us on that cul-de-sac. Our goal there is to put senior home, senior living, and then on Luella, single family homes, maybe 3 of them. Michelle has all the detail. I want to commend her for working for a long time. And she gets paid, but she gets paid more by hallelujah, thank you, Lord, and praise you, than in real dollars. She's been able to keep this going with our work and with our help. So what we plan to do, and I know she's been talking to you about this for a good while, is to continue to push for affordable housing on Liberty Hill. Not near Liberty Hill, not adjacent to Liberty Hill, but on Liberty Hill. And as properties come up, then our goal is to get it, to build an affordable unit on it, and let folk have their own home. That's affordable. Many folk are doing it. Many folk have done it. When we got here, Metanoia, when I became pastor in 2008, the city of North Charleston had $3 million in the bank for the purpose of mitigation of what happened when the Navy Yard closed. And in that money, the Lamsey money, and I met with the mayor, there was $3+ million unexpended. We asked straight up, why, what happened? And he gave me a song and dance about folk messed up the money and they couldn't be trusted. And so I pointed out to him what my real concern is, because I smell the sea about to go down. Sure enough, 3 years later, so I asked, what happened to the money? Where is it? They've given all the rest of the money to one organization. That's Metanoia. And I said to the mayor without any hint of disparity for my brother down at St. Matthew, I said, Mayor, it seems kind of strange that $3 million gets gone, and the only person who gets the money to do affordable housing is the white person. How'd that happen? How do you explain that? He got offended. I didn't care. And I made the point to him that whether it was intentional or not, that was money that the community could use to deal with what everybody kept saying were the problems of housing that was not affordable, housing that was dilapidated, housing that needed resources. And they had $3 million. Those who know the story know that only 7 communities were designated for that money. And Liberty Hill is one of the 7. And I don't think you got any close to $500,000 from millions of dollars that they had. And now the rest of it is in one place. So we built a unit on Mint. We're about to build another unit next to it on Mint. We're building on the Q. We have a plan developed. I think F.A. Johnson made a presentation to you. We're still working with him to tweak, to make sure that his vision is ours, not the other way around. And our goal, talking to the South Carolina Community Loan Fund, talking to several banks and other entities who are interested in partnering, maybe they will, maybe they don't. A lot of folks talk a good game, including the county, is to build affordable housing in all the units that we own. And except for the commercial property we used to have down that we own, and we have decided. We did talk to the IAM, the new museum, about putting one of the welcome stations for the museum on the video.
Pastor,
Yes, ma'am.
I excuse me for interrupting you, but have y'all talked to the residents?
What?
The-
Yeah, she's been,
No, she hasn't. She got to be on her one
Which-
time. I'm
which part
talking
of the
about the
project?
residents in the community.
But which part of the project was that? We had
All
several
of it.
projects.
The
Yeah.
one, you said affordable housing in Liberty Hill community.
Yeah.
Who are they?
We made a presentation in December.
And we told you we didn't want it. But we weren't
No, you gave
interested.
us feedback.
Yeah, and I told you
feedback
the
that we
community
received
wasn't
was
interested. I did.
You wanted to maintain the affordability of it. We're working hard in order to do that so that the properties, especially for seniors, are affordable. Those were the takeaways that we received from that meeting.
And that's
Well,
feedback.
maybe I missed that one. I probably wasn't in that one.
I think that the main crux of that was, the community said they wanted more multi-family housing. And I think you talked about the issue like the queue. And then I think we talked to Mr. Hart, he said that was already, zone R2, so we weren't gonna worry about that. But I think they're talking about, the zone changing from R1 to R2, that was a concern.
Let me go back with
And the affordability of this, some of that.
the president point of the call, she made one point that the concept itself of affordable housing, what we were doing, and have been doing since 2015, may not have been clear enough for you to hear from me. So that's why I came, but I know Sister Hunter has been coming, been active, she's been engaged, and she was talking. And we had several conversations before in the community, not at the Liberty Improvement Council, but there were issues going on there as well. And then Deshawn has been assigned to be the voice and the face of what we do. And she asked me to explain the overall concept, how we got started, what we're trying to do, where we're going. We don't have any adversaries. Our adversary is poverty and injustice. In addition to being pastor, I am the vice president of religious affairs and internal relations for the National Action Network. I worked for the LHIC for 38 years. I've been with NAM 8 years. So that's 40 plus years of me doing basically the work of the gospel, the work of justice, and the work against poverty and injustice. The vision is, the transformation really comes from the idea of not renovation, not replacement, transforming what you got. Mr. Craig and all of you have been doing, and what next gen, I want to share one last thing before we go. We may not be able to get to that by way of an invitation. Something called Act Now that we're working on as a national initiative. But to answer your question, it was my impression, even talking to some of you, that that was clear what we're doing and why. The specifics about the queue, it's 2 houses on 1 lot, and they're dealing with folk who have unique needs. They're not immobile, they're not invalid, they will get around, but they cannot afford decent housing on what they make. And it's almost impossible. So when the house became available, because we had it, and we received support, earmarked specifically, in fact, our covenant is it cannot go to somebody who's not special needs, somebody who's not unique needs. No matter how long it's there, it cannot go for that. So I really didn't know what the concern was until Shonda shared it with me, and I had an extended conversation with President Harvey Young, and that's when I said, well, when's the next meeting? She said, well, the day would be good for you to come to talk about why and how. So that's what it was. Yes, sir.
Rivers, when they made a presentation here several months ago, what I told the gentleman was that, and I still hold firm to this today, what we need in Liberty Hill, honestly, we need for Liberty Hill to fix what is broken.
Exactly.
And then, once we fix what is broken, and then we can concentrate on something else, because we really don't want to change the demographic. We also don't want to invite more crime. And there's a lot of crime. I mean, something happened to me personally just the other day. And that we have to wipe out. We have to. Because and I grew up right down the street right here. And when I grew up, the elderly women would talk in the middle of, in the street. They would talk to each other. We don't hardly see that. You see? So we again want to build back better. We want to build it back better than it was. And in doing so, we have to address the needs that we know in the community right now. The needs that we have in the community right now is to fix the houses that need to be fixed. And then, because honestly, and I'm gonna say this just as clear as possible, if this was a few years ago, we would even try to stop with the accuser, because it is not representative of what we are trying to do in the community now. And which is, we have to address crime, we have to address the houses, because again, I say, just like I said in the council meeting, that little Ming over there, we want to make sure that when Ming gets 25 years old, if she desires to stay in Liberty Hill, we want this community to be great enough that she would want to stay. Because when we were growing up, there was a mass exodus. When people got educated, people left, and to include me. I came back home for a specific reason, to help take care of my mother. My wife, when I retired from the Army, she said, Charleston is where I want to be. When I came to help take care of my mother, and I started to get involved because a gentleman, a visiting pastor, said that our community was dilapidated. And he talked about how beautiful the campus of Royal was, but he said my community was dilapidated. I can't.
But he was visiting.
He was visiting, but that's a slap in. You can't come in my house and talk about my mom, and that's exactly what he did. So we want Liberty Hill. There's specific things that the residents want. We are addressing the needs of the residents, and right now, I'm just telling you, and I don't want it to get all out of shape, but I'm just telling you, the residents don't want what you are offering from Liberty Hill.
So you're saying you don't want affordable housing
Who that's gonna benefit?
in Liberty Hills?
I can't sit here,
Folk who,
because they gotta be on.
folk who want to live on Liberty Hills.
We want to address the ones that live here now first.
Exactly.
Okay, if there's nobody who lives here is being excluded from anything we're talking about.
Well, see, building multifamily houses,
That's
Liberty
pushing
Hill
us
is
right
not
on out the
developed.
door.
Liberty Hill wasn't developed. It was developed for single-family housing. We existed for 151 years.
And you know, we aren't building multifamily. But let me be clear, that when we talked about this specific instance, these two people, it was already on the corner where the place is. A whole multifamily development hadn't been built, but you see the sign the same way I do. You see what the markup is, and across the street, there's already but not wanting it and having it are two different things.
Well,
You already got it.
We have pride, we have to get rid of that.
So let me respond to the first thing. Nothing you said is at odds with what we're trying to do. Not one thing. Secondly, we are on the verge of gentrification. It is barking at the door. When I became pastor just those few years ago, you could ride at Mixon and the thing was almost shut down. In fact, it was. And they used the same con to get it back up. They were gone. Now, you see all that stuff up and down the street? Those folk are coming. And getting mad at it won't stop. It takes a strategy to do that. And one is to make sure whenever property becomes available, it stays in the community where you want it to be. Otherwise, I'm gonna wake up one day, I grew up with Brother Javin, America Street, Hanover Street, and Drake Street. It's entirely different now, because they ran them out of Charleston to the North area. What's gonna happen, Mixon is a sign of things to come. And as folks come up and down that street, so there's no conflict in what we're trying to do, because we're not talking about the impact. It's the folk who live here want to be here, or folk who want to come back to where they're at.
And that's what we're trying to do in fixing what's here, and we're trying to also we want to fix what's here first, and then we can concentrate on, rebuilding in those 153 lots.
And if
I mean,
we're up
253
against,
lots.
and if we're up against, we cooperate with the timetable you set, that'd be fine. But that's not how it's going to go. And we can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can develop and repair and renovate, and also have, in the best case scenario, is to have both. Is it not the desire to keep people out?
Reverend, are you talking about multi-family homes or single family?
That's what
homes?
We-
I just got one question. Is he talking about multi-family homes or single family homes?
The one we're talking about became the issue, was on the Q lot that we already own, that we were building an affordable home, 1 bedroom for 1 person. The size of the lot allowed us to build 2. And that's it.
Two
On the
single family
end of
homes.
the lot, on the end of that same street, what's that, Barnum, we asked them to help us develop a plan that we could approve and look at. One plan was, whatever it was, we talked about senior development. So there are 3 homes in our plan, in the cul-de-sac, individual homes. And the feedback I think we got from you all, at least that's what she said, was it didn't need to be 2 stories, it need to be single story. On the Luella lot, those are single family homes, the only room for, I think, 3 or 4. 3
Where is that?
in the cul-de-sac,
In the book on-
at the end of Luella, yeah. Now, the city had these properties for many years, and the first time we talked, I think they ignored us, they weren't gonna do it, but we wouldn't quit. So the multi that you're talking about, that could use advisor, is the house in the front and the back for individuals who have special or unique needs, who are employed, can get around and ride the bus. That's it. On the end of the queue, there are 3, I think the design we got are 3 single-family homes for seniors. At the end of, Luella, it's any single-family, whoever. But we designate the one at the end of, the queue, which is really Farnley. That's the one that's gonna have to be senior, designed for seniors.
Now, where can we get the information on what are your plan? Where can we get the information so we can review them? So, because I'm like you, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we have to work together. And the organization I'm with is Live Next Generation. We just started, so we're trying to work with everyone so that the common goal is bringing up video. You know, born and raised, and we want to, like Minister Mitchell said, where it was and where it is now is totally just a big gap. And I came back myself, just as Minister Mitchell said, just to do what he said, to help bring it where it needs to be. So I think we need to be more working together, inclusiveness, and all the groups and organizations can concentrate on what their niche is. If they're redevelopment and fixing, but we need to know what each other is doing. So if someone comes to me with an issue, I can say, hey, go to charity. Reverend Rivers is doing this right here. This is where you need to go. Go to Minister Mitchell. That's not happening right now. We don't have that one place everyone can go where they know what every organization on Liberty Hill is doing. Because there is about 15, 20 organizations I found out some time ago on Liberty Hill, but everybody is doing their own thing. When everybody is doing their own thing, we don't have no togetherness. So everything is going to be missing. We're going to come to meetings like this where no one knows, and no one don't like this or that. And I'm here not knowing either project, but I love what, Minister Mitchell is doing because he is saying, but I also love, we got these empty lots. If we don't do something with them, the white people,
That's what you said is not true.
other communities will come in and take them up.
That's right.
So I have a question. I
Yes, ma'am.
understand that you're just,
Let me respond to what you said first.
okay.
That the disclosure that we already been making, we can make more of it. We can make sure we participate. But I want you to understand the heart of what you said, that's true. is this notion that because we work on a different project, that we are adverse or opposite or in opposition to what you're doing. We support it and work with the redevelopment and rebuilding and stuff and all that, and that's why he's laughing. But part of it is, we have to be careful that we don't get played.
I got
We're
one
not
question.
sharing, and you're not mine. And whatever you don't know, we are 100% transparent. We'll tell you whatever you want.
Excuse me, I got one question, Rick.
Yes, the assistant.
So, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago and the question came up, so I want to repeat the question. What is affordable? Can you define that for us? Give us a tag from this range to this range. What is affordable?
It keeps changing.
No, sir, but I mean, what is our base price? 30,000, 40,
You mean
50?
for
the housing, yes, sir.
So you're doing.
Because we say that we're built,
The AMI, it's gonna be based off of the AMI, so HUD, Housing and Urban Development, comes out with these terms. So if they give us funding to help us build it, then we'll look at 30% AMI, 60% AMI.
Can you tell us
Would you
AMI?
explain
Can you
what
define
AMI is?
AMI?
AMI is area median income, so the area median income in Charleston, let's say, is
Is it-
50,000 for.
Is it Charleston or here in North
We're in
Charleston?
North Charleston.
Liberty
So-
Hill specifically?
So I would have to look up the North Charleston one, but
Would you?
yes, and then I can send that to Valerie so she can send it out to everybody.
My
They change yearly, it changes yearly.
And the reason I'm asking is because I want to know, I won't put it on everybody else, I want to know, because this is being marketed as affordable housing. So for my curiosity, I want to know, can my friends and family who's still on Liberty Hill, can we afford it? Because when he said it, we did it before in North Park, where Ben Tillman used to be, they said affordable, but a lot of us couldn't afford to go in there. Okay, I have another question, I got 3 questions.
Let me respond to that first.
Yes, sir.
The affordable, the reason I say AMI, what they do, you have to be specific. We talk about black folk. The affordable housing for black folk is different from other folk that have affordable housing, because the truth is, the median income for African Americans in North Charleston,
On Liberty Hill.
this zip code and this census tract,
Yes, sir.
is less, it's 40% of what the median income is for everybody else. So when we start talking about what's affordable, we can't just use AMI. Our goal is to build something that the folk that you're talking about can afford to live in. You can't give a hard number because the number may have to change. Because we're dealing right now in a situation where the numbers already changed. Because, for example, let me be real abundant. New construction of homes are not coming in under 200, no matter where.
That's correct.
3 bedrooms. Ours is 180. It depends on what it takes you to get that finance to get to your number. Our goal is to work with the folks who want to do it, have a needs blessed God, whose only job is financial transformation, to get people ready to buy homes. We work with them to make sure that the folks that come in are able to afford it. That's just being straight up honest with you. If we use just the numbers, we could not meet the needs of the folk, because frankly, that number is skewed. It is not us. That number is everybody. We just make up a significant part of that. But the part that we make up cannot afford that number. So we don't use that number exclusively. So the one house that we did do, that came in under AMI, and also came in under everything else that was being built around it. Frankly, they had to be subsidized, but the folk we worked with were able to subsidize it so the house does go for 180. The next one will probably be over 2, but maybe not. But it will not be for that house. The house was built with pre-COVID money, pre-pandemic money. Everything after the pandemic, we have to now get bids, and they have to include in the bid the post-COVID lumber price. That's just too much detail. So I'm letting you know that the AMI is what the people use in this business to decide to put a tag of affordable housing on it. But we know in our community what's affordable for some folk is not affordable for our folk.
And so I'm thinking that if the houses are gonna be constructed on Liberty Hill, then it should be within a range that we can afford it, because if we can't, then they might as well go downtown.
But what the minister's talking about as well, you don't want just, and not taking it the wrong way. When you talked about bringing folk who used to be back, they need to be able to afford to come back to be affordable. So that is in addition to what you're talking about, it's the same folk. But that may be more than what you're talking about, we don't know. When we talked to the chief about it, and he made the point that he couldn't, his police officers can't afford to live in most places in North Charleston. When we talked to the folk who teach schools, these 3 schools or 4 schools, that are being fed by Liberty Hill, they can't afford to live near their schools because it costs too much. That's a part of the conversation we have with them about what do you define as affordable. We use AMI because the folk that loan the money and the folk that support our project, we have to have a common language and terminology so they will understand whether they can fund the project or not. And they use AMI as the way they fund the project. Average median. Well, the subsidy really is us. We build it, and we build in, and we raise the money that the person does not pay the actual cost of what we cost. If we built the house just for profit, that house would cost more than 2/3. We didn't build it for profit, we built it so somebody could afford to live in. So they bought it for 1 year.
Okay. In the interest of time, I had 4 questions, but in the interest of time, I'm only gonna ask one more. So you had mentioned earlier that we're on the verge of gentrification. And Mr. Craig had mentioned, we want to build up what we currently have. So if in fact we are on the verge of gentrification, and Charity has this group, and we have the next generation, we have this, that, why not, like my brother said right here, why not combine these efforts? Because there's no need for all of us to reinvent the wheel. If we're doing this, why not be a part of the same group? Because as Craig said, I think it's a good idea to rebuild these houses. Why would we rebuild on Nikki's lot or near her lot and she can't afford to live there? So I would say to you or to your group is, why not combine efforts? And who's going to profit? I'm not going to the third question. I'm sorry?
We thought we were actively doing that when we were involved with both the Improvement Council and supporting the work of redevelopment and communicating through that. So if you're saying that's not what you're getting, then that.
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think it would be a good idea for all of us to come together and combine effort, because we have the interest of the community at heart. And we're not the interest of the redevelopment group or the Improvement Council or next generation. We all have the same interest, and that's the folks in our community.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I agree. I'm just going
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. You start off by saying about property on Dweller, on the queue, that you want to put 2 houses on it.
Yeah, there's one bedroom home.
Yeah, but you never said that you wanted to turn from R1 to R2, and that's what we're against, R2.
But we didn't have the conversations last
That's why we went to City Hall to stop it.
Right.
So that, everything you're saying now, that's the most important part of it. You want to go to R2.
Correct.
We want to make it so that 2 homes would be on the lot.
So you have to go to R2.
Right.
And we don't want you to go to R2.
Okay, well, I get that, but I'm saying to you that the hard part for me is that right next door is going to be a lot more density than 2.
Yeah, but that's been already done. But
it's not built.
But moving forward, Liberty Hill don't want R2 no more.
Okay.
And the reason why he's saying that is because last year, Regina applied for R2 on the other side of Mountain. And we were told by our councilman to come against that because we do not want any more R2 in Liberty Hill, because it tends to open the door for people to bring in apartments and do anything with it. You can put anything in it once you change that zoning. So, I told you before, Regina's my friend, she's still my friend, but we had to come against her to stop it. And what she did, she compromised and she came up with another plan.
Right.
So I guess the question was, are you going to compromise with us as the community don't want the zoning change where now you're going to change the dynamics of the area, and it's going to open the door for more R2s.
We weren't clear from what the council did on what the options were, and we still not clear what the council did. Because frankly, we were trying to get the variance they asked us to get to do what we wanted on that lot. And it was only applied to that lot. And they asked us they told us what we needed to do. And she did. And then when we came to the meeting, and the folks stood up and said they didn't want what was going on, frankly, that blindsided us because we didn't know where that came from.
But the application never said variance. Usually when you have an application, they tell you variance, and that's what the problem. That's that. but it doesn't say that. So when we pull the application, it doesn't say that. So that's
It wasn't.
the problem.
It was literally to get granted a variance to put, and it was really more about parking, about the required parking.
Right.
And that's where, so when that happened, I wasn't here, I had to watch it, traveling. I asked, what happened? I mean, what went on? And she said, no, I saw something. But all they told us to do, because we wanted to have one space per unit as opposed to two, to ask for a variance for that.
For the open space, okay. Well, but that variance is gonna change from R1 to R2, and they declined it. You know, I don't know if they told you that.
Yeah, I think I read it, but I didn't get it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much saying the same thing, okay? Gentrification is on our heels, and we're all trying to stay there. I see Willie Lynch and folks right here. We're being played out on the outside, and we're being played on the inside. We've got to stop this, because folks know that if you get Black folks fighting against each other, nothing will happen, and the outside forces will come in and take over. Number one, when we say affordability, when we think about our people, our older people, living in an area on a fixed income, that income does not bring into focus affordability. One reason why I spoke out at that meeting is because of hearing about the zoning change. It's because I got involved with the reunion group in 2019 in an effort to stop killings on Living Hill. I made a promise to my deceased brother that I would do all I could to stop all this killing. And so that's why it's well intended now, when you say about, wanting to do affordable housing. But again, we have to address this elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is crime, gang warfare, people not caring about each other. We've got to get on the same page. If we don't get on the same page, then guess what happens? We start deteriorating on the inside. Forces coming from the outside to tear up what's happening on the inside. And we're at each other's throats. That should not be. We've got to sit down and have meetings after meetings after meetings and bring about clarity. Because we could be talking about the same things, but going at it from different directions. We've got to sit down and talk. We have to break bread together, whatever. But we have to talk.
The chief and I have had this conversation many times. When this conversation comes up about crime and want to do something about it, our challenge is we speak in the vacuum, as though crime is only related to housing or only related to folk coming into the community. And I said, to be very candid, that Black folk in leadership have to be careful that their privilege don't start showing. Because we send the message that increasing the number of folk increases crime, or increasing a certain kind of folk increases crime. That's a message being used in other communities about us. A bigger question, this is what Henry Darby and I wrestled with, is that when you analyze the people involved, what are some of the common denominators? And most of the folk got 3 or 4 things in common beyond being Black. And if we aren't willing and able to address those common denominators, we'll continue to blame Black folk for Black folks' stuff and be afraid of Black folk without realizing that's a game being played on us to make us fearful of each other, especially our young people. So to address that very directly is that why do we have other communities that have the same percentage that don't have the same crime issue? This is what the chief and I were talking about. And a part of that is, one, is almost always income. Always income. When income goes up, crimes go down. That's just the way the data says. The data speaks to that. And yesterday, 2 days ago, I met with the superintendent. 82% of the Black children in the Charleston County school system are not ready to read. They don't read at grade level. 82%. Said another way, only 18% of the Black children in Charleston County schools are reading at grade level. 18%. That ties directly to what you're talking about. So if we only address the fear of crime, and the fear of crime also makes us afraid of what we perceive to be criminals, which is us, then it becomes fear of black people. And then we miss the point that there are other communities where you have the percentage, but you don't have the crime. So what are the things that help mitigate the crime problem? We don't have that conversation up because we want quick answers to very complex problems. And one was, as you know, Sister McFadden, your dad had to wrestle with this, putting bodies in body armor on the line. But what else happened during that time is you go back and track the median wage, you go back to track the income, you go back to track the food desk. All of that plays a role. And I'm not trying to have a long sociological discussion. My concern is that often we send the message that if black folk come trouble. And that's really a disservice to the truth and how it's played. We have a propensity of guns that are being flooded into the community because guns are the new drugs. They make money with the guns. And we can't wrestle with that because we can't even deal with how we stop the flow. And so a lot of what is going on is these guns that are bombarding our community. So if you get what you want and be able to say, this kind of black person can't come, this kind of black person can come, you're deceiving yourself into believing that the crime is caused by the race and it's not.
I hear what you're saying, but when a life is lost, a life is lost.
That's right.
When I think about these older folks being placed in these areas, okay, defenseless, when there's some kind of gun battle going on, they're in a line of target. They would be targeted. So we've got to fix this problem of crime first. We can't put senior citizens in a dwelling in an area where folks are going to come in the streets and battle each other with guns, because once their lives are gone, that's it, and that brings another statement to the community.
So without getting lost in this, I want to shift to this one invitation I want to make before we get through, because we ain't going to resolve this, we stand up here, you sitting down. We have to have a much deeper conversation. I was wanting to explain why we're doing what we do, what our objective is, which I think you're intimately familiar with, and why this is critically important to us. But the gentrification is not on our schedule. Every time a property comes up, we monitor, you do too. Every time a property comes up on Liberty Hill, if it weren't for Ayers property, it would have always been, it would have been going a long time. But somebody bound to sell it. So the truth of the matter is, that push that's happening over there, and this issue about that $20 million in the ground that you're doing in Park Circle, that is the forerunner for some more stuff happening right where we are. And it's coming. And getting mad ain't gonna stop it from coming.
Can I
This is a strategy.
Can I ask one question concerning the housing? With the affordable housing, do any of your residents or the people that you propose to put inside these homes, do they have any hope of owning these properties to pass down to their generations? Or is this a property that they live in till they precise die or maybe get to a point that they can't afford it? Is this something that they're invested in that they can say they can pass down to their kids and grandkids, and they can own these properties with no strings attached? It's not something that they'll never own the property. They can own the house, but they'll never own the property, and the property stays into a tie-up place. Now, so you're getting all of this property. So I'm concerned about how the property is going, because there's a lot of heirs property in the community. So, because that's something that we can continue to pass on heirs property by investing in our community, or is this something that you guys or a certain organization will always hold the ties to?
We will have land banks. Because what happens, and you can track it, you don't have to take my word for it, just go to the tax sale every October and watch what happens. And the only reason they don't do it is because they can't find all the heirs, have to go through a lot of issues to get it.
But that's
so our goal is to make sure that the property stays affordable and stays in the community, in the hands of the folk.
So that was a yes and no question and answer. I just wanted to know. Is it something that
our goal is to have land trusts?
So in essence, that you're getting all of the property and you guys have access to all of the properties on Liberty? Well, I'm saying, and for future reference, you guys are getting access to all of the properties. but you're kind of like gathering it for a certain trust, but it'll never be back in the community the way it was designed to be back in the community, because it'll always be tied to this trust. So 50 years from now, my kids will have a piece of property that they'll never own, or so that's what I'm just asking.
That's not why land trust was created. It was created for exactly the opposite reason. Because what does happen is when the person who owns the land is deceased, if there's no will or there's no heirs preservation for it, that land gets sold at taxes or gets sold to somebody who doesn't live there, ain't coming back. They're not coming back because they don't like people. They're someplace else, they're not coming. So the idea was to make sure that it stays in the community, it stays in the hands of the community, and it doesn't get flipped by people taking advantage of people.
So how does the community, just use that word community, how does the community benefit from that? Does the community get 10% of whatever is sold down the line? Does community, not the church, not the organization, does the community get any residual from this effect? Does the community benefit any way from this?
Yes.
How does the community?
Stops gentrification.
No, I'm asking that
You ask the question, and give me an answer. That's the only answer I can give you. Because the strategy around this, everywhere that has been done, the reason they get land flipped is because you cannot protect the ground. The ground gets lost. When the ground gets lost, it's bad. Yes, ma'am.
Purpose. I think you probably need to explain that better way he can understand it. Land trust, say now, Blue Yellow Street, you got the those homes there. That's gonna be land trust property.
That's all.
Okay. If I move into one of those homes, I deceased maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road. Explain to him what you mean by land trust. Where's that property going? Back to charity foundation. That's where you're going at, or where is it going?
It's going to remain with the land trust, so that the next homeowner.
What is land trust?
Land trust means that you own the building.
Right.
And you can sell the building.
But not the
Not the
land.
land, so that the land stays in that place without changing.
Land is gonna stay with who? The foundation.
With the land trust,
With the land, also it's gonna be charity land trust foundation.
or whatever land trust it is. No, we'll be public.
So it might be a corporation in another state.
Right, I'm just
Might
trying
be
to get
somebody-
them to understand what you talking about land trust.
And the reason for that, explain this. What has happened and will happen in gentrification, they want the ground. Because the ground is where they move people out. And when they get the ground, it doesn't matter what's sitting on the ground, because they own the ground. So the point of the land trust is to make sure the ground stays in the community where it is and doesn't become New York property. It doesn't become North Carolina property. It belongs in Liberty Hill. And the reason we went to it is because the history has been the way gentrification has worked and how Black communities become white communities. And even where I grew up down in Charleston is because people did not own the ground. And when the ground was sold, it did not get sold to somebody that looked like you and me. It got sold to somebody with a lot more money who could wave that in their hand and get some.
No.
So who owns the ground? Who owns the ground?
See, they would be the land trust owns the ground. The trust,
But
who
who
owns
owns
it
that?
to the trust? This is trust owns it.
Entity that.
This is what's going on down in Union Heights right now. This is what's going on in Union Heights now, the land trust owning the property. I just started off. Let me get back to the first thing you spoke about, the fence.
What?
The fence.
Oh, yeah, the fence, yes, ma'am.
Let me educate you about the fence. Okay, I'm not trying to be smart enough by saying that, but the fence was put there by Charleston County School back during integration time. I graduated in '69. The whites started coming over in 70, 71. Bound Wilson was facing Liberty Hill. When they integrate the school, turned the face to Liberty Homes, that's when the fence came about. So whoever told you that they didn't know, now you know, okay?
Well, let me stop you right there, only to say this. The first person we asked was the school district.
Was who?
The first person we asked, because we were told that it was put up by the school district, and the school district said, we didn't put it up. And we asked the city of North Charleston, we didn't put it up. Then we asked the county, we didn't put it up. I believe it's the school district, but they said they
School
didn't.
district. I live on Llewellyn Street. I am very concerned about how many homes are you planning on putting on Llewellyn?
Three.
Okay. That's a cul-de-sac there.
Yes, ma'am.
We were told that cul-de-sac was put there so that fire truck and police and everybody would have to turn around to come back out.
Right.
Okay. Now, the city sold the property to y'all, gave it to y'all, donated to y'all.
Mhm.
Which one?
Deeded it to us, yes.
They deeded to you,
Right.
just gave it to you. Okay,
Because the city owned it, let me be clear.
right. That's why the city owned it, so it can have turnaround access for fire truck, ambulance and all that.
But right there, before they could turn it over,
Uh-huh.
they had to meet that requirement,
Meet what requirement?
to have the vehicles be able to turn around.
Oh, they on that. Over 15 years, they
No,
on
no, I'm
that.
saying recently, before this just happened,
Before they
before
can
they
turn it
could
over
have
to y'all.
the deed transfer,
Mhm.
they had to validate with emergency services that that would continue. They could have access down
So where are you gonna build the homes at then?
in the cul-de-sac.
No.
Didn't the FA present that?
Look at, I live on the cul-de-sac. Okay, my house right here, the cul-de-sac is right here. You only got so many feet of grass area right there. So you can't build 3 homes there and the cul-de-sac still be there. No,
Okay.
no.
We designed it and presented it to answer those questions based on the dimensions of the lot that the city has in the deed and our plans that was done by the person who developed this housing all over everywhere to meet that obligation. So if it doesn't, we won't be able to build it. But we've been told, and we looked at it, that 3 houses, we first thought 6, 3 houses can't go there.
Is it possible that I can see your plans, sir?
It'll
Is
be
it
sold,
possible
yes,
that I
ma'am.
can see your plans?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'd like to see where you're gonna build it at and still have the cul-de-sac there.
She will be glad to show you.
So the seniors will own those houses right there?
That on Luella, those will not be seniors will be on the land.
Okay.
If Luella, that'll be just single family.
Single family units. Okay.
On the queue. I'm sorry.
Another thing that I'm gonna be concerned about, if you put those homes there, not only there, even the one on LaCue. Taxes, you ever thought about that?
Mhm.
Taxes. When I first came back home in 2006 and got my tax bill, my little lot went up to almost $50,000. I'm paying tax on. So I called the tax county office and I said, wait, tell me, how come my lot, not even an acre, not even a half an acre, worth between $30,000 and $50,000? You know what they told me? Well, they built new homes up there. They talked about Liberty Homes, Calvin Homes. I say that doesn't have anything to do with Liberty Hill. Liberty Hill is considered a blighted area. Always have, and is considered now. For those who don't know what the blighted area is for the city of North Charleston, they call y'all the slum area. Okay? So our taxes should be lower than anything else. But when they decide to build these homes, even these low homes, you live in one of these homes on Nesbitt. Robin and built some other homes. that raised everybody's taxes. Because those little homes are on a lot, maybe 25 by 100, no more than 50 by 100.
They're
Because
30
most of
by
them-
100, but
Huh?
it's 30 by 100, but I have all three.
Right. Most of the lots in Liberty Hill are either 25 by 100 or 50 by 100. One of my questions was going to be to you too. You said you were going to put two houses on the cube. So is that lot bigger than 50 by 100? Because if you put two houses there, you still have to have the setbacks. Okay, so all that has to be approved. Okay, so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about you putting those there in the taxes. Y'all got to excuse me, I have asthma, so I get up, you know. So when you build these homes and you're so concerned about the community, then think about the people that live in the community now that can't pay their taxes, are losing their home because of taxes. Think about how much their taxes is going to go up once you build these new homes. A sheet of plywood right now is anywhere between $75 and $100 for one sheet. So when you build a home, new home now, that home is going to run you over for $200,000. That could cause these people, I'm sorry, not these people, the residents, taxes to go up. So, I mean, I know you're trying to do right, Reverend Rivers, but not in Liberty Hill right now. We don't want it. Work with Craig, work with the redevelopment. Take the money that you have, help them. Help them, help the ones that are living in here. Let's make a difference that way.
Yes.
Put Liberty Hill on the map that way. Let Keith Sunday and all those other folks see that Liberty Hill has come together. Because right now, they always think that we are not together. And they're probably thinking that right now. Because you one way want to build homes, the accused or another way building homes. You got the Liberty Hill Improvement Council here trying to bring back Liberty Hill. So they're sitting back looking. And they're not going to do anything when you got three different groups spread working three different directions. So I'm just asking you, reconsider, you know, let it go. There's a time and a place for everything.
What's your name?
Candida Joy.
Candida Joy, okay. Just quick question. There's a brand new house being built on Gaitner. A black man owns that. There's a new house being built in the Black Bottom. Black man owns that. Owns that as well. Do y'all say to them, don't build right now? Because we looked at the lot that's on Gaynor and it was the land was too expensive for us to purchase it. Did y'all go to him and say, don't build a new house on Liberty Hill?
Well, I can't speak for them, but let me speak, wait a minute, Valerie, let me speak for Candida. I did not know anything about that. If I had known about that, I would have said something. Reverend Rivers knows me real well, right, Reverend Rivers? I will speak up. Okay?
I just wanted to.
Relationship means you know me too.
Huh?
So the relationship means you know me and I know
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah.
But let me
That's
pose,
WCD.
that's right, let me pose this straight up. Does anybody here believe that if we don't build another home, that there will be no more homes built?
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying
Does
that.
anybody believe that if we don't take the home or the space out of the market to make it affordable, that somebody doesn't care anything about affordability? We build a house and sell it to the highest builder because they can get a lot more money on that lot because that's what's going to happen. The way housing works is going to happen.
We just don't want no more R2.
We aren't doing this to try to compete with anybody about anything. Our goal and our mission is straightforward. that if we don't keep it in the hands that we can trust to keep it affordable for the folk who want to be or want to come here, what's going to happen is they're going to build $300,000, $400,000 homes, and you're not going to stop the tax from going up just because you think it's a bad idea. What has happened around the corner has as much to do with the taxes going up and the home values going up as anything. And they have been building stuff. It's really ought to be almost illegal to charge $400,000 for what they got around it. But that's not the end of it. It's only the beginning. And this is bound to come. All I'm saying to you is those few lots we got, we don't have any money. We get the lot, we finance the building, we sell it to the people to do it. So the idea that we got money stored up somewhere is just not true. What we do is we identify opportunities to build affordable housing. If a lot comes over, we just buy the lot, or we got the lot given, and then we have to get the South Carolina Community Loan Fund, or whatever entity that's loaning the money to help us build the house, and when we build it, then we sell it. And we subsidize the building of it so that the cost comes close to what you're concerned about being.
I got one question. With that being said, in a sense, it sounds legit. So let me ask this question in this way. Have you ever considered that you could help some people that want to come back in the community, young adults, get those properties that are inaccessible to them?
Yes, sir.
So instead of going through the trust fund and getting it tied in that way, have you ever considered that you maybe put a offer out to some young adults that want to move back into their community and allow them the process to build on their own with no strings attached, by teaching them which ways they can go about purchasing the house and the properties to get the house? Because it seems like you have access to a lot of the properties, and some of the people, I think some people can find out, but if they're not educated, in which we know education plays a big role in a lot of things, is it possible that you can kind of maybe offer that way? Maybe put 10 lots up that you can help people that want to move back into the community, get access to those properties with no strings attached.
So to answer your question, the fourth leg on our stool is financial literacy. Everybody who is going to buy or has bought has gone through exactly what you just said. The financial literacy training, to raise their skills, talk about home ownership, to put them in the house. So that's being done. The idea is to find out who wants to come, put it out there, put them in the financial literacy program that we already have with 3 partners. And that's what they go through. That's how the household men got bought. That's what they do. So that part is that's not something we have to start with. We're already doing that. But I'm going back to the real issue, that this is prime property.
It is.
And they're coming to get the property. And the only way you stand not to have it gone is, one, that the folk who own it, often absentee, won't sell it. That ain't gonna happen. Or they go to the sale and can't get it. Our goal is to make sure that when the properties are available, that we can afford to get, that we keep our commitment, that the property will stay in the hands of our community and it will be affordable. That's what we do. And we don't plan to stop. Everything else you talked about, we already support that. That's not something we're opposed to.
So I would like to address a little bit about even the tax situation, because we have a little pot that we're putting into.
We talked about it.
To do the taxes, and people have struggles with paying their taxes. But we also want to educate the community about when your taxes, you see your taxes going up, you can grandfather those taxes in. All we have to do is write a letter. And as a community, we can write a letter. There's tax abatement, isn't there? Charlotte's on the board of the Housing Commission. And I think they have that on the agenda for the tax abatement. You want to explain a little bit about tax abatement?
We haven't gotten it.
You know what a tax abatement is? Okay, so right now, we can even apply for moratorium, which is to stop paying taxes for a certain period of time because of the pandemic. There's so many opportunities out here now for us, and we need to apply for. So we, as a commission, just like I said, we have our alliance meeting. We need to talk about these things and educate each other and bring those things to the table so we won't lose our property taxes. And we can, put aside Communities do it all the time.
Sure.
So we need to get on board and educate. We go to these meetings, bring that information back to the community and let us know how to go about it.
Where are we with, Liberty Hills historical designation?
So we are about to submit the second round. We gathered all the information. We have over 20 pages of information from, thank God for the community. Members gave a lot of information. You guys did your research. And so we ought to compile that, Congress take that, and Lily, they all went to the libraries, to the courthouse, to the archives, and they gathered lots of pictures. They wanted pictures from 1930 to 1970. They wanted maps, they wanted plaques. Oh my God, Congress stayed in the archives for hours and hours. So we have to catalog and all those pictures and put them where it actually coincides with the time frame of the history that we're seeing.
And
so
I noticed that, because don't you get a tax?
So with that, with the designation, then we don't pay taxes. So we will be taxed on the same. So that's why it's very important for us. When we ask for pictures or we ask for information about your families, things like that, please bring it to us, because that's our history that the state wants to know. And when we put all that on paper and we show how valuable we are, guess what? We won't have any problems getting that designation. And even Mr. Clymer's office already said they were interested.
So let me,
One other thing I just want to say, when you're considering about building these homes, are you planning on upgrading the drainage system? And because see, at the end of Blue Yellow, there's no water down that street. There's no sewage down that street. We have to run a water line from my house all the way to the corner and put the meter to the corner. So if you plan on building 3 homes down there, that means you will have to take up the street or whatever to put pipes and all that down there. You know. Okay, so
that's what you would do.
you aware that there's no water and no sewage down there?
We talked about some of the issues that were developed or found when FA did the review. That was one, but that was not explored.
Right.
We didn't talk about it.
And I think they say that's the only street on Liberty Hill that don't have water line that runs down city water.
We'll make sure.
I have a question. Let's talk about Al's Diner. There's a plaque on it now with an X on it. Is that really supposed to be demolished?
No.
But you know about the marker on the building now?
No, Sister Harper Joy asked me, after Harper Young asked me about it. It's an indication, what is it? It's that.
It's for the firefighters, because their floor joists are gone in that building. It's to let the firefighters know not to just run into the building all free willy-nilly. Basically, they need to use caution when entering the building.
We have no reason or no desire to demolish it. The rest of the building checked out, having further architectural review, but the building is pretty sound. At least the walls were sound, floors were issued. So we haven't, frankly, was to do it so that it would stay where it is and be useful for this community, basically. We weren't talking about doing housing. Yes, sir. Let me, because you raised a point. About 2 months ago, a friend of mine named Johnny Mack, who works with me with the National Action Network, he does international, I do national, made me aware that there are 15 communities in America that a group called Act Now, funded by, this is all guilt money. This is George Floyd aftermath money, but it's called Act Now. And it is about hearing from communities about the priority issues that the community is concerned about, that resources can be directed to. One of the 15 communities is Charleston, which to me is North Charleston. If they want me to participate, it's going to be North Charleston. So one of the first steps is what is called a listening session. So on either the 30th of August or the 1st of September, we will have 2 listening sessions. One is going to be down in the Wayland, and the other one is going to be on Liberty Hill. I met with some of the leaders of Next Gen. They came to a couple of meetings, one of the meetings, another one by Zoom. And we want you to invite and tell us, there are 15 or so folks that will be invited. So the Improvement Council, redevelopment, Next Gen, tell us who they are. And one of the first things we have to commit is that we do not just have it for friends or people we like. It won't be input. It only comes from folk we get along with, or folk we don't want to sit at the table with. So we need the names. They were working on the names. Sergeant Foster was working on some names from Wayland. Our names come from us. So between the Improvement Council, between redevelopment, between Next Gen, give us about 15 names. We're going to open it. It will not be presided over by somebody from here. Make sure we get rid of the notion of bias. But really, it's the surface. We went to Dallas with Councilman Haywood, Brother Donovan, Sergeant Foster, Marcus McDonald, myself, Sister Grant, and who else? That was it. And there were 19 communities represented, 5 Indian reservations. And our charge was to go back and open this up to have listening sessions so folks could talk about it. But one of the issues that came up was this gun violence question. Where in America have they been successful in dealing with gun violence? And if they did, what did they do? And could it be done in our community? That could be what the community wants to deal with. The other side of that spectrum was folk want to do with economic equity and economic empowerment. We're not prescribing or deciding. We want it to be a genuine listening session. Act now means quit talking and start to act now. But we have to be careful how we act, so we don't end up repeating some of the mistakes of the past. Understand the invitation, because we wanted to be Liberty Hill, and you are the folk who, along with folk who are already here, have a lot to say about what you think ought to happen, how it ought to happen, from your own experience and from the own reports you get. And we want to have folk at the table. So when we do that, it's going to be either here or Felix Pinckney. Our goal is the 30th and the 1st to balance that with Wayland. Wayland gets theirs. There are 3 communities, there may be more, but to be transparent, the idea was to do something in the city of Charleston. And I said, well, that dog won't hunt because my church is in Liberty Hill and in North Charleston. We're going to do something that's going to be here. And then the Wayland got on because the 2 areas that have this perception of this violence and the crime, those are one of the 2 most prominent or best known. So when we do this, just tell us who it is. We'll get it from the leadership. You invite them. We have no agenda. We'll send you exactly how the format is going to be to open it up, to hear folk talk about what are your concerns and what do you think are the priorities that we work on. But the 2 areas that kept coming up were gun violence and economic equity.
I like to say, to mind, that what you're talking about, act now, that's wonderful. That's what we need. But you said it's going to happen at the end of August.
This is just listening. You're just going to hear.
Irregardless.
It's August 30th or September 1.
Okay. When were we going to hear about this? Here's one of our big concerns is, okay, you are privy to a lot of information and other people are privy to other information. We need to share information about what's out there, how do all of us access
exactly what
it.
I'm doing right now. The first time it's been talked about outside of the meeting is now. And we didn't invite the folk. I think Haywood and Donovan, but we met you all, met Next Gen at the thing at Royal. And they ended up dropping the names of a couple of folks to come. The brother whose daughter was killed down in Days Hill, he came. The sister who was working with him, she came. We didn't invite any of them. We took the word out, come. And we didn't come for them to organize. We came for them to hear what Act Now is and say whether it's something you want to deal with. And the follow-up to that was to have listening sessions in the communities that we identified that we think we'll do work in. And those communities were or are Liberty Hill, Wayland, and Shakora, and east side of Charleston. But right now, the 15 communities have been identified, and the Charleston area is one, but right now it's only those three I mentioned. And after we have the listening session, there could be more, we want to have more. But the idea is to do what we did today, but do it with more of a forum of hearing than describing. We just want to hear, and it's called a listening session for a reason. After that, there's another listening session. Then they create something called the People's Commission, which I struggle with the term, but I'm sure that's what we need to do. But the idea is to have the people, literally all the people rhetorically say this all the time, literally it's the people. And when the people say, this is what is important to us, then we have to put the wherewithal behind that to make that happen. So it starts with, and this is the first group we've talked to it about, we've been meeting internally to get our own house in order, and only to provide the time to make this happen, because it's kind of time consuming. So now, it's either the 30th or the 1st, we will know, frankly, when we find a space that allows us to meet, then it'll be that day. Johnny Mack is coming in to moderate the conversation so it doesn't become Reverend Rivers and somebody else or Next Gen or the Improvement Council. It's really going to be about folk from this community talking about the issues of concern and let it be heard so action can be taken. Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you for that information. And if we can do that,
We will, I'll send it to you.
then we can send it.
I'll email you the whole description of where it now is.
Okay, send it.
Lastly,
Yes, sir.
All right.
He's a preacher. I'm
No.
nervous about this last
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I'm not gonna preach, but this is one thing I want to make sure that we keep talking about gun violence. I'm gonna tell you all this right, okay? If you go in any gun store in America, you can't find ammunition for most weapons. They are bombarding, they being the gun makers, are bombarding the markets with weapons for a reason. Okay? And it's not only it's not for the black community. I'm telling you, I went to the store today and there are, ammunition, none. You can't find it. You know, when people stockpile ammunition, you know what they're thinking, they planning on?
That's right.
We can't continue to do this. Okay? And another thing, Rivers, I want you to make sure we understand. You and I need to have a meeting too. We are not excluding anyone from the community. You may mention, you lose there. That is not what we're doing. The problem is not black folk in the community. The problem is black men in the community. We are not doing our job. We haven't done it in a long time. The women in the community have been putting it down for years, but it's our fault. Because we have become afraid of these young black men. That's our fault. Because and until or unless we get together and do something about it, we'll continue to have a problem. Because mama can't take these boys and do what needs to be done. It needs to be done by a man. And I'm saying that, and I continue to say it. And the men in the community, I applaud my brothers from Next Generation. That's what they're doing. But they need help. They need help. Mama's got to stop standing up for these kids when they wrong. They wrong.
Yes, yes.
Jesus. But that's our problem. And until or unless we do something about that, we're still gonna have a problem. We still gotta fix Liberty Hill, and it's gonna take, I'm gonna tell you right now, my goal for the Liberty Hill redevelopment group, $100 million in Liberty Hill, and that still ain't enough. $100 million. I think it's been 44 million in Park Circle, 28 million in Dave Jones, and total investment around less than a mile from Liberty Hill is over $150 million within less than a half a mile of Liberty Hill.
I agree with you.
So,
But minister, as a pastor, has the good fortune of having more women preachers than men. I do not deny anything you said except one thing. God has used the women of our community, historically and even now, to do either men refuse to do or not capable of doing.
That's not what I'm saying.
But I'm saying that to suggest that we have to wait on men to get ready is a long time wait. You're ready, I'm ready, but we shouldn't wait on the rest of them to get ready.
All it took is Cliff calling me, and we get these guys off the street, and that's what we're doing. And it just takes for us to recognize that we are part of the solution. We can't sit no more. We can't. Everybody else, go ahead.
I'm good, I agree with you. I'm just saying that I think our position.
So speaking of solution, that's why we all want to have a democracy. We bring all the nonprofits together and we all come up with a solution for the whole world together. We're starting our meeting August 27th, and we're going to continue to have those meetings every month. You know, as the alliance map out what we're going to look like moving forward. We're about to open up a headquarters at the corner of Luella and Montague.
For the Lions.
So we want everybody to get a mindset of inclusiveness for the because it is time for us to come together to solve the problems. And for tonight, with resolution, I think we should leave here without a resolution of what we came here for, and that is R2. So can we compromise in some way?
Yes.
We haven't talked about what our request was versus what came up. So we have to find out really what that was.
The request, okay, so you do our homework to find what the request is.
Our request was exactly what I said, 500 square feet with one person in each, who has unique needs, one of which is already identified, who lives on the community.
And those rental loans.
Right.
Those rentals.
No, we get one is one of the purchasing.
Oh, what you want to purchase?
One needs to be, so we have different input about who that other one. But that one we know for sure.
Okay.
And it's not out of the realm that that person could buy it based on what we have in it already. They could purchase it, so I shouldn't say it's a guarantee that it will be done. It could be on. Our preference would it would be on, but the person, in all the talking and working with that person, they didn't say how they could own it, but they definitely had to do something with the living conditions.
So just like Regina had to come up with another solution, can we come up with a solution where that person can, or you have 2 or 3 rooms in that house, and those 2 or 3 people that you have in mind to put in the home could be in that R1 and still be in.
We haven't gotten that far because we didn't know we had this issue, but it goes back to what the person really wanted, the autonomy of having your own place, which they have now, but it's really not livable. And we plan to make it, put them in a place that's livable.
And they own that land where they are now?
No. In fact, the place is about to be gone. That's one of the reasons the urgency is the people who have it don't want to do it. So we'll send her the information and the redevelopment too. On Act Now, the next year, just give us the names, about 5 each, give or take, and we'll have it either here or Felix Payne 30th or the 1st. We'll let you know. And Wheeler will be the opposite time. We set the date, and they'll set the other date. Thank you so much. It's been good being with you. We're transparent, open, ask us a question, I'm gonna give you an answer. I'm gonna do what you want, but I'm gonna give you an answer. And it's gonna be about sincere effort to do what we say. Make housing, affordable living, high quality public education does not require children to do anything that anybody else is not doing to get high quality public education. And to develop a workforce that can live in this affordable housing and have financial literacy so folk will know how to take care of the money when we get paid. They're not end up turning the money over and over. Yes, sir.
UDO has a strong literacy program.
Sure.
So why can't we get behind them?
I agree with already working. But the challenge though is, this is the challenge. We have a chart, and we can share it with you. From going back to 2000, that's 22 years. The reading readiness for Black young people has never been over 47% in 22 years. And now it is down to 18%. And most of the schools that represent that number are in North Charleston. Most of them in what they call acceleration zone. But the truth is, the effort has never matched the rhetoric. So now we're trying to have the effort. So yes, we talked to Morning South Middle, North Charleston Elementary, and North Charleston High about putting family centers, not parent centers, family centers. And part of the family center will deal with, do you know what the adult illiteracy rate in North Charleston is for Black people? Almost half.
Yeah.
Almost half of the Black population of adults in North Charleston are illiterate. And that contributes to reading readiness being a problem, because it's hard for those who can't read to get their children. That's just real. And without doing something about it, it'll just get worse. And so our commitment is to work with that project and other projects in 5 years to increase the rate, so at least is over 50% by 2027. And that's a tall order. We're looking at 18% now.
Yeah, but since they started their program, they have raised the reading
For the people in the program.
for the people in the program. They have raised the reading in these schools. Kofi Hilton and Robert Flat have done this.
Right.
So why can't we put more effort into get more of these kids into this program? So
We
that
already
they
get, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that to change this, it can't be one place at one time. It has to happen in a lot of places at the same time, because the numbers are just that bad. So if you do just 30, you're not impacting the numbers. So our vision, if you will, was to stuff. Let it be school-based, because you got almost every child that has their problem is at some point in school someday, sometimes during the day. And can the parents come there as opposed to them going home? It's a whole program. I was just making you aware that we have a crisis, and the pandemic made it worse. So what was already a bad situation got worse, because now we have summer laws combined with not going to school, combined with not being teachers, and now down 18%. And that's a fire alarm. We should be really fighting.
All hearts and minds clear? We're gonna do our
God bless
homework. Okay. So I will adjourn the meeting. Did you close out for
Excuse me, Mr. President. I just like to, I guess, plug a little commercial here, if you don't mind. You know, a person of a lot of short language, and I don't talk a lot. But I'd like to say that we're having a gala. We want to do something different in the community. The Union Group is having a gala on September 24th. We need your help. We need your support. And while we're having this gala, we know the price is $100. But let's face it, there's someone coming to this community, or not this community, to the Coliseum, and the ticket price is $120. Well, the sister's going to get an outfit, everything that goes along with that. We understand that. A lot of times when we think about it, well, I'm not going to get into that, but the thing is, we're using this money to support this community, to put back into houses, and also to offer scholarships. So we really need you to support us. Everyone in this room, sponsor someone, help someone to go. We want our folks to see something different. And so please help us. We send letters out to churches and to businesses, more than 200 businesses and other folks. Please support us. Shani has worked hard as our vice president of the Reading Group. Then Sheila has worked hard as our president. Regina has worked hard. We have meetings after meetings after meetings, and we really need your help and support. That's all I have to say.
You talked about it earlier as well. We're on board. We support it. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if the 24 is going to work, but the resources will be there if I'm not able to be there. Because family issues. I had one thing, on October 29th, Blue Hill Next Generation has a, fall festival. Come out to the park, in Blue Hill Park, everything is free, all the food, have giveaways. Last year was our first event, we had over 250, almost 300 people there. We're planning for more this year. We just asked everyone to come out, just have a good time. It was a great time last year where people got together. We haven't seen each other in years, 10, 20 years. So we're planning the same thing this year, is on October 29th.
What
Very
time, Brett?
welcome.
What time?
12 to 6, 12 to 5, I'm sorry,
At the park.
at the park. October,
And y'all get
October
good
29th.
back to school too. We gotta give them boys their gift for back to school. It's a real good for those kids that back to school, they have last Sunday, so we gotta give it to them.
All rise for the evening. Let us be dismissed in order. God, we thank you for the privilege and the opportunity that you would bless every family, every person, as a heart for the work and a heart for the place called living here. That you will give us traveling grace and mercy, and let us return with the self-same spirit, uplifting where we are. Bless us, that our work will not be in vain, but the productivity will be the fruit of our labor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
What's going on?
Yes. Well, he was gonna buy a table. That's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out how much it is. How much would you take? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. So we're gonna bring out, Okay, I'm trying to jump out. Yeah, we had to put that at the last meeting. What we're gonna do is,